Yes, good morning, everyone. Welcome for our online training sessions. In this session, we are going to take one assignment in Fusion Financials, and we'll see how we can complete that particular assignment. Generally, when we join in any organization, before they assign the project, if they wanted to test the consultant, because when we apply as experienced consultant, the management wanted to test either team leader or project leader or maybe a project manager, whoever it is. They may assign some assignment. We will give you the instance. Let's go for complete this particular assignment here. That's what they'll ask you to do it. Okay. So here we are going to take a very detailed assignment. Now they are going to say that let's go for create a new supplier. For this supplier, invoice due date should be 45 days, 45 days invoice due date. Or let's say easy calculation. Let's say we'll take it as 11 days should be the invoice due date. When you raise any invoice for this supplier, the due date should be 11 days. And create a standard invoice, make multiple payments, multiple installments. In first installments, we would like to pay 70%, 30% in second installment for this supplier. And after that, run the report, supplier invoice report we have to run and check the output. So this is a requirement. So for this, we must be very clear what are the roles are required, data access is required. And client says that use the company called US1 legal entity, use the branch called US1 business unit, use the ledger called US primary ledger. Yes. So first what we have to do is we need to have a sequence of steps, whatever we have to perform. Okay, because when we are working in the project, if it is for practice point of view, then it's okay. We can do the jig-jog steps, not a problem. But here, when it comes to the project oriented, then we are supposed to go ahead sequence of steps. First, what we have to do, we have to hire employee for our legal entity and for our business. Second, we need to add the role called supplier manager. Before that, we have to make this employee as a buyer. See, I'm missing another set of sequence of steps. Make this employee as a buyer. Because without buyer, you cannot go for create supplier site. Not possible. Make sure that your employee is a buyer. Next, add the role called supplier manager. And after that, we will go for create supplier site. After that, we want to set up one payment term, right? Payment term needs to be done because 11 days we want to go for calculate. So after making the buyer itself, you can go for add. Or you can go for modify, not a problem. After creating supplier also, you can go for create a payment term and update payment term at supplier site level. Supplier site level will go for update the payment term, right? Then after that, we wanted to test whether the payment term is working or not. We have to add account payables roles to the user. Account payables roles to the user so that employee can create roles and also data access. So that employee can create invoice. Check the payment term. Check the payment term. And then define installments. After that, after the installments are created, then make multiple payments. Invoice is only one, but we are making 70% in first payment, second payment 30%. And finally, we'll go for run the report. And in the report output, we just wanted to see the invoice details, whatever we have configured. So just read all these statements. I'll give you a couple of minutes time. Just read the statements. You can try to understand. Yes, now we'll go for configure this assignment. So what is the first point? We would like to go for hire an employee for a particular legal entity and for a particular business unit. And now this is that let's go ahead with the built-in legal entity and built-in business unit called US1. Okay, so let's connect to the applications here. We want to go for hire. We discussed in our previous session about implementation roles. Whatever the setups we are going to perform, we'll do it from here, setup and maintenance. We call it as FSM environment, functional setup manager. All the functional setups will perform from here only. We have to choose the offerings and which offerings you are working. Are you working in financials? Are you working in order management, procurement, inventory, public sector modules, CRM modules, or you are working human capital management? Human capital management means here workforce deployment, workforce development, and compensation management. Okay, now we are working for financials. Okay, let's go for hire an employee. What is the task name? Manage users. Go for the task here, manage users. We are trying to hire an employee and create a user account. When we are hiring an employee, obviously the system will ask us for which company you are hiring employee and for which business unit, nothing but for which branch. Two fields are mandate. Okay, so I'm going to specify here Madan Kumar. It's the employee name, mail ID. You can give any email ID, not a problem. And let's go for user account here. Madan Kumar is the username I would like to set. In case if user account is already created, then you can choose this option, link user account. Link user account. You can use this option. And you can set the username and password. Notification preferences are required. And right now I'm going to create a user account for employee. Okay, choose person type as employee. Then two fields are mandatory. If we look at here, two fields are mandatory, legal employer and business unit. Legal employer is nothing but company, your client company name, and business unit is nothing but a branch. These two are mandatory if you want to hire an employee for your legal entity and business unit. Okay. So we have hired Mr. Madan Kumar, and we also set up that user account, Madan.Kumar. That's the username we have suggested. If you have already user account, of course, you can link that user account. We have seen in our previous sessions how to create user account, right? That can be linked directly to employee. After hiring an employee, we want to make this employee as a buyer. Who is buyer? Buyer is nothing but an employee who is having the authority to buy the goods from the suppliers and raise the invoices, purchase orders. We have to make this employee as a buyer. Okay, so let's go for task called agent. So buyer setup is common. It can be done from financials or it can be done from procurement. Now, system is asking for which business unit you are trying to make this employee as buyer. We have already business unit. What is the business unit? US1 business unit. Now is going to work as a buyer for the business unit. So in every organization, there will be a finance department. Their clerks, cashiers, finance analyst, finance manager, these employees will be working. There will be a sales department who will be working over there, sales representative, sales specialist, sales manager. These people will be working. There will be a HR department, the recruiters, HR managers. This will be working. Same way, there will be a purchasing department or procurement department where buyers will be working. Where buyers will be working. That's what we are going to make. Now, which business unit you are going to assign this buyer, and who is the buyer name? Madan Kumar. Madan Kumar is the buyer. And if you would like to set up that some default requisitioning business unit, you can set. And here we can give the access to this buyer, access to the agent. Buyer or agent, both are same. I'm giving the access to create suppliers. Yes, I'm giving the permission to create suppliers and also create purchase orders. All access I'm giving here to the users. Let's go for save and close. Now it's completed successfully. It's completed successfully. Now we have completed the buyer setup. You can have this employee as a buyer for multiple business units. That is also one of the important question. Can we make this employees a buyer for another business unit also? Yes, he can be a buyer for multiple business units. Next, we want to create a new supplier, right? That's what actually our task. If you want to create a new supplier, you need the role access called supplier manager. If you have the access to this role, then you can create a new supplier. But before we go for create supplier, I just wanted to verify, are there any, approvals are enabled. Let me go to procurement offerings. In procurement offerings, we'll find suppliers. It takes a couple of days time to understand suppliers comes under procurement, buyers comes under financials, like that offerings area. It's not much complex. Very first time if you are listening, there might be, but when you go through a couple of days practice, then you can easily understand. Approval management. Let's see all the tasks here. Right now, I'm trying to create a supplier. And also I'm going to customize the supplier. So these two approvals, I would like to make it as auto approval. I don't want to go through the approval process right now. Oh, it seems all the process has been enabled. Let me disable all and I'll go for enable only one. Edit rules. Now we can see that it's automatic approved. Save. Deploy. Approval management is one of the important topic in financials, which we will be applying for supplier creation, invoice creation, in all these areas. Let's go to spend authorization approvals. Here I'm trying to enable it. Let me edit rules and it's automatic approval. Save it. Let's go for deploy and go for submit. Now it's done successfully, supplier. Okay, now everything is fine. Let's go for add the supplier manager role to Madan so that he can log in and create a supplier account. Now let's go to tools menu, security console. users tab. What is our user account? Madan.Kumar. Let's search for this user. Madan.Kumar. Reset the password. Let's go for edit. Add this roles. What is the role required? Basically, he's an employee. So we can go for assign the base role as employee role so that he can access self-information. Now we want to create a supplier. Let's go for supplier manager. Supplier manager. This role is required to create suppliers. Save and close. We have already reset the password so that Madan can log in and create a supplier site. So click done button. Now let's log out from this user. We have added the role to the supplier, to the Madan. What is the role name? Supplier manager. For every module, there will be a 5 to 6 roles, standard roles, predefined, that we have to remember. It's a important question in the interviews. If I want to create invoice, what is the role required? If I want to post the journals to GL, what role is required? How to customize the roles? We'll talk about that later. Now we are going for suppliers creation. Let's log into the applications with our credentials. Go to navigator, procurement, suppliers. Go to the tab procurement, suppliers. Sometimes it will not be populated. We need to wait for a couple of minutes. Just wait for a couple of minutes. It works automatically. Let me cross-check exactly which role we have assigned for this user. Let's go to Security Console here. Go to Users. Supplier Manager. Okay, it's an abstract role. That's correct role only. But let me just check. Okay, still it's not populated. Generally, it's not required data access. Let me just try that. Let me log in as an implementation user account. Go to financials. Provide data access to the user. Manage data access for users. Supplier manager role. For which business unit you are creating supplier? For US1 business unit. Give the permission here. And after we provide the data access, we must give the LDAP process. We have to run that. Go to initial users. Let's go for submit LDAP process. LDAP process will provide the synchronization between the users as well as the roles here. Let's go to procurement, suppliers. Yes, now it's working. So data access, earlier it was not mandatory. Maybe we can see that in the latest version, which is required. Okay, 23C. 20. Fine. So what we have done is we added the role to the user so that user can go for login, and we have given the permission that you can create suppliers for so and so business unit. Let's go for create supplier. And what is the supplier name here? We can find out supplier name here. I'm mentioning it is data supplier, spend authorization supplier here, and corporation. Let's go for create. Now we have entered supplier details here. Let's go for enter supplier address. So the supplier data model will be first supplier, supplier address, supplier site, supplier contacts information, then supplier qualification details will be specified here. Let me go for provide the address. New York address I'm going to take, United States here. Let me enter this postal code 12200. That's the New York code which we are going to provide. Oh, sorry, this is county. I'm going to say that this supplier address can be used for raising the RFQs or biddings. And you can also go for order. For ordering also you can go for use this. Let's go for save this here. Address has created successfully over here. Address has created successfully. And now when we go for create a supplier site here, what system is showing? An address must exist before creating a site. Just now we created address. It requires approval. We have already enabled auto approval. So we just need to close this task and open this task again and go for search. Manage suppliers, search for the supplier. These all setups we are supposed to do it. When we are working in the real time, these setups only we are going to perform. So here we can see this icon. A profile change request is pending for this supplier. It means you created a supplier and we are waiting for supplier over here. Let me click search button again. Now this has been completed because we have enabled auto approval, right? We have enabled auto approval. That's the reason it's been completed. Okay. Next, let's go for edit supplier. I'm going to create an account here. Supplier site account. Go to the tab. Now we can see that we don't find any, warning message or error message over here. Now it is clear. So now what we are trying to do is we are creating a supplier site. Without site, we cannot raise the invoice, right? So we must to have at least one site. We can also have multiple sites. If you want to create a supplier site, you must be a buyer. Whoever is logged in, that employee must be a buyer. We have already enabled Madan is one of the buyer. That's why it is allowing us to create supplier site. Otherwise, it will show error message saying that you are not a buyer. To create a buyer account, you must be a buyer here. Right. Let me go for add this. Choose the address. Without address, no site. And mention that site, supplier site I'm creating. So supplier is supplying the goods from New York. For that, we have to make the payment. Enable this site is one of the payable site. When we are working as a functional consultant, we must be clear with all the functional setups, whatever the checkboxes options which we have. Let's go for create supplier site. After that, we have to assign this site to the business unit. You can go for automatically assign. Now the supplier site has been assigned successfully to the business unit. This is how we can go for configure the supplier account. Next, we'll go for create a payment term. What is payment term? Whenever we purchase some goods or services from the suppliers, then we are supposed to make the payment for them, right? So whenever we are giving the order, we'll say payment term is 30 days. It means once you supply the material to our organization, within 30 days, we'll pay the amount. Okay. Right now, the requirement is for 11 days. 11 days is the requirement. Right. Let's go for submit. First, you have to create a payment term. Then you have to assign your payment term to the suppliers. That's one of the setup. You must be an implementation consultant. Log in as an implementation consultant here. payment term. Select payment terms. Going to say that amount should be paid 100% within how many days? 11 days. Within 11 days. Let's go for assign this payment term to your business unit. I'm assigning this to common set. If you assign this to common set, then it will be available for all the business units. Okay. Now payment term I want to assign to the supplier site also. Let's log out from here. Now Madan is going to log in, assign this payment term. Go to procurement tab, suppliers. Go to task list here. Manage suppliers. Now I can see that. Go to the tab here, supplier sites here, and then go for edit. Now we are in our supplier site here. Go to invoicing tab here. Go to the tab called invoicing tab. Here we can go for assign our payment. All these fields are important. All these fields we'll be discussing. What is the default invoice currency you wanted to have? You want to restrict the amount limit for the supplier site, you can go for do this. I'm going to specify that here payment term, whatever we have created. So we assign payment term to supplier site so that what happened when you raise an invoice to the supplier site, system will automatically set the due date is 11 days. It will set the due date is 11 days over here. Click submit button. Next, let's see the assignment. We have created payment term and updated payment term at supplier site level. Next, go for add account payables roles to an employee. Roles we wanted to go for add account payables roles. Because we want to raise the invoice, right? That is our next assignment, create standard invoice. If you want to create an invoice, payables invoice, you should have the permission. That's what roles. So let's go for our employee. Already we have assigned supplier role to the employee. Same thing, we are going to attach account payables roles. Login as an implementation user. What is user account here? Madan Kumar. Let's go for add account payables roles. There are 3 roles for account payables. One is accounts payable manager. Another one is accounts payable supervisor and specialist. Well, let's go for assign data access to the users here. So role is assigned means user can access the application, but we have to provide the data access. Only if we assign the role, user can log in and open the page, but user cannot see any data. User cannot create any records because you don't have the permission for data. You have the permission only for application, front end, but you need access to the data also. When we say the data, you can access a particular business unit where you can perform the transactions. What is your user account? Madan.Kumar. Whenever he log in and choose payables, now we are giving the permission for so-and-so business unit. Same thing for second row. Copy. Now let's go for LDAP process. After we provide data access, we must to run the LDAP process here. So that it will synchronize the roles and users information, whatever we have provided here. Now let's go for log into the applications here. Let's log out from this user. Be given access to the accounts payable application as well as data access also. First, we'll verify the rules has been applied or not. Go to navigator. Here we can find out the rules has been applied successfully. Next, we given the data access, right? Then we have to verify the data access has been applied or not. Go to invoices. Now we got the data, right? I'm able to see some records. And then if I go to task list and try to create invoice, my business unit needs to be populated here. Select our business unit. Yes, we got the data access also. Okay, we can give the permission for multiple business units also. Same task we have to perform multiple times. So now we have added the data roles and provided data access to the user. Now I'm going to create an invoice. Select your business unit and choose the supplier name. See, by default, you got a payment term as immediate because for your business unit, payment term is immediate. Immediately we have to pay. But if I choose the supplier name, supplier name, and automatically system retrieves supplier number and supplier site, we can see that the payment term has been changed. As soon as we choose our supplier, automatically, because we have mentioned that this is the payment term to the supplier side, so that value will be override. Right? Supplier site level, whatever we specify. Fine. Now I am mentioning invoice number, Tata-1, amount $1,000. Standard invoice I'm raising. Line level I'm mentioning that we have purchased the items, $1,000. And we want to prepare internal accounts for this, because every company will maintain the accounting information, right? Let's say we purchased some furniture. We purchased some furniture from Tata Supplier. For that, they have sent invoice to us, which is $1,000 cost. Let's go for save. So system automatically prepare the invoice due date here as per the payment term. Click show more option. You can also enter when you received the goods from the supplier, when you received the invoice from the supplier, when you are going to create the invoice. This is all information we can find. Now we are going to validate the invoice here. Verification. Now we are trying to verify the invoice details are correct or not. It needs a revalidation because tax system might have calculated. Let me remove the tax here, because taxes we are not applying at this point of time. I'm going to set the tax as 0. Now the invoice has been validated successfully. I would like to set the installments, 2 installments. Now if we click on the validated option, we'll come to know the invoice status. Invoice is validated successfully. Now we are going to set the installments. When we try to set the installment, here it is showing that what is the due date. What is the due date? September 3rd. Today is 23rd August. September 3rd is the due date. Why it has taken this date? We have assigned payment term for 11 days, right? Tata payment term we have created and assigned. While creating payment term, we have mentioned that it's 11 days, right? That's the reason it has taken this. That's the reason it has taken this. Now we would like to go for set this installments, 2 installments, 700. If you have different, you can set up. Otherwise, we can go ahead with the payment, multiple payments. Not a problem. So invoice is created successfully. We just need to create accounts. Accounts are not created. Let me just go for create accounts. Fine. Accounts also created successfully. Invoice is validated here. Let me save this. Invoice validated. Unaccounted. We did accounting, right? Accounting has been completed successfully. Invoice is already validated. It's fine, no problem. So we can go ahead with payment now. Why it is showing unaccounted? Generally, it should be you must account the transaction before view the journal entry. Fine, no problem. So now the invoice amount is this $1,000. What is our requirement? We would like to make the payment, multiple payments, 70% first installment, second installment, 30% we want to make the payment. First, we'll go for $700 payment. How to make the payments to supplier? By selecting this. Go to payments here. And go to task list here, create payment. For which select your supplier here. Supplier site. From which bank account you are going to make the payment. Bank of America. Which currency you are paying. What is the payment method? Check. Standard document. I'm using standard check format. What is the check number? So and so number will be generated. And choose the invoices. You can pay for multiple invoices at a time. But right now, I would like to make the payment only for this invoice. There is only one invoice here. I wanted to pay only $700, 70%. What is the payment number? 4036. Save and close. First 70% we have paid the amount. Next, we'll go for make the payment. Remaining 30% second payment, second installment, we have 4037. Balance amount $300 that we are going to make the payment. Go for save and close. Like this, we'll go for make the amount in 2 installments we have paid. Finally, we wanted to run the report so that I can see the output here. So we have executed the output successfully here. If you want to go for run the reports, we can do it from here, reports and analytics, or we can do it from tools menu, scheduled process. Process is nothing but a program. So in this assignment, we are doing the setups and also we are doing the transactions. Creating supplier is a job of client. Creating invoice is a job of client. Creating the payment is a job of client. But before I deliver this to the client, I am supposed to test it, right? So that's the reason we are creating supplier, we are creating invoice, we are validating, we are doing accounting, we are making the payment. All end user job also we are going to perform, because before we deliver to the client, make sure that whatever the setups we have done, those all are working perfect. For example, we have verified payment term, whether it's calculating the due date perfect or not, right? That's the reason we have verified that. So go for invoice reports. Payables invoice register report. It will provide the detailed information about your invoices. I just need only my supplier invoice details. Supplier, if you would like to restrict to in which a date, we can do it. Otherwise, not a problem, because we just created only one invoice today, right? It doesn't require other input parameters. payables invoice register report successfully completed. It's completed successfully. We can check the output here. Yes, I would like to publish this so that we can find detailed information. These are the input parameters we have provided for this process. Now we can find the invoice. Tata 1 invoice, amount $1,000. These are the distributions. We got it. So this is a assignment. So once we learn the account payables module, this type of assignments, if we perform, then you can easily attempt for an interview, and you can easily work in the project point of view. Okay. Thank you.